Then Elasto, I'll be sharing my screen, but we shall be discussing it together. I share what I've done, then you throw in your view. I think that's okay?
Yeah, it's fine.
All right. So let's begin from there. Is my screen clear?
Yeah, it's clear.
Okay. So one, we need to understand what is professional writing. So from my research, I would say professional writing is a kind of written communication that is used in workplace environments that allows professionals to make decisions. Now, when I talk of professionals, I'm meaning business people, professors, doctors, lawyers, not those operating in the workplace environment. For them to make decisions, for example, you have written your application. Say you want to do internship with an organization. So you write your application and they have to make a decision. So now this kind of writing, you're not just going to write any kind of letter that does not entail those professional principles that we are going to be looking at. And that's why it becomes very important. Again, in a broader term, it also includes any written or oral communication other than art or scholarly writing. And what I understand from art writing, in those of us who did maybe art, I don't know. Melambela also did the BCM. Me, I did the BCM also. So those who did the art, you know very well how you make impression in art. But on professional writing, it's not likely to be the same thing. That you're going to write a lot and convince the person. No. Then scholarly writings, we see always you cite sources. For example, say teenage pregnancy has increased a lot, for example, according to, so those are not how you're going to make your communication. But again, you have to make a persuasive communication without making a lot of elaboration and citing any scholarly source. So that's what briefly I want to explain about professional writing. So Elasto, you can quickly give us your view.
Okay, like more on this, on professional writing, like maybe I can ask the people around. You see, like when you are writing a message to a friend, you can use the emojis, you can actually write anything that you feel you should write. But when you're writing it to maybe someone that you are asking for the job, or you want to instruct someone to do something, or you want to inform someone to do something, you think of what you're going to, what you think of why you are going to do that, and then how the best way you're going to do it, especially when you're going to message someone who is busy. And then also, for the case of our friends, we assume that friends are not always busy. So we text in any way. So we don't think of whether the message is either attractive or not attractive. Yeah, so in that way, we use a lot of I can say art-like form, whereby you can just do anything. Yeah, but with the profession, you will have to know, if you are to write to a doctor, you know what will be the interest of the doctor that will make your message be effective to him to reply to. Yeah, so that's maybe the difference there also between professional and the non-professional writing. I think you can go on.
Thank you, Elasto. Thank you for that elaboration. We are moving on. Then, if you have any more question, you keep asking in. You just unmute and you ask if you have any question. So, These are examples we want to look at of professional writing. We have email. This one we have for resumes. We shall look at resumes. This is just a form of kind of CV. But then a CV is very broad, include everything, every detail. But then when you're applying for a particular job, you don't send in your CV with every detail about you. Just have to tailor your CV to fit in that particular job, to make sure you just fit in that target job. So you write a very short kind of CV called resume, and that's what you use. And we shall look at that in the next episode. Then we have report proposals, and we shall see how we go about this. Then the thing that matters most here is one, what you need to know, what you need to consider when you are going to write your resume or email or any other kind of professional writing. One, you should take into account the purpose. That's why. What are you trying to communicate? Why are you writing this? So the purpose becomes very important. And just know the purpose is one. You're trying to persuade. You're trying to persuade this person to agree with you. For example, if it is an apology, you want this person to accept your apology. So it is particularly to persuade. Then two, you're trying to clearly convey an informational idea. That's why it requires you to check if you are really being clear about what you're trying to communicate. Otherwise, you may end up not communicating what you actually intend to communicate. So the purpose of this is to ensure that you persuade the person to agree with you, and secondly, your communication or your informational idea has reached. Then two, you have to consider the tone that you're going to use. One, it must be professional. So you're not just going to say hi. So they must be professional. Then the objectives, they must be objective. What we mean here is that whether you write very short, but it includes everything you wanted to include, and that's the objectivity of your writing. Then must be respectful, not emotional. Then it should be formal, not in form of a conversation. Okay. Then we also consider who is going to read, and this will determine what you're going to write. Are you writing? Are you trying to communicate to a colleague to dictate on the way you're going to write? Are you communicating to your employers or employees or to a client? So all these factors you have to consider who is receiving it. Then the examples, just like we have looked at them. So you need to make this to be priority. Which tone are you going to use? Consider the purpose and the audience. Yeah. Okay. Elasto, is there any addition?
Anyway, like maybe what I can add on, like in summary, what the reason why we do professional writing, it's actually more related to workplace. Either we are requesting for something from either our colleague or our boss. So that's why in most cases you may persuade. For persuading, you are like requesting. Then conveying information, you are just informing the person about something, or maybe you have completed a task for your boss and you are trying to inform him or her. Or then another way can be if you are maybe the boss and you're trying to instruct or give insights to your your fellow workers. Yeah, it can also be like that. Or maybe you are if you are trying to give them some ideas you have gotten about, or maybe if you have you have been working on a certain project, or you are going to work on a certain project like that. So you have to inform them in a way that it will persuade them to open your message. You know, people receive messages, very many messages every day. So at the end, some are a scam, then others. So for you to be able to open the most important one, you have to make sure that it is written with a purpose to make the person open it and read it. Yeah, so that's where the purpose comes in, to persuade or convey information and ideas. We can go on.
Yeah, thank you for your insight. So these are the facts you should know. One, professionals need to know their information quickly. Two, you just like Elasto has been explaining. For example, when you're applying for a job, or you're giving presentation at work, or communicating with the colleagues via emails, that's when you may be required to use these skills and techniques we are going to be looking at. Then professionals normally skim. They don't read. They take seconds to understand what you are trying to communicate. They are not going to spend a lot of time to look through your work or your application. They just seconds, and they're able to see whether you are the right person or not. So it's more of first impression. More of first impression. So that's the fact you should know, that these people will need to know exactly what you're communicating and quickly know that, not to read in depth in order to understand. Then we try to differentiate between professional and academic writing. Normally, in professional writing, you give a brief introduction and a brief conclusion. Meanwhile, in academic writing, you always have to give a fully developed introduction and conclusion. Then also paragraphing is normally very brief, and even the sentences are very short and concise. So you write something small, but when it has content. Yet in the academic writing, they can give you how many pages you should write. So should be a fully developed paragraph, and the sentence length may vary, and the structure. Then the purpose must be stated directly, and you use the active voice. For example, in professional writing, you say, I am writing to. For example, I am writing to inform. I am writing to request, something like that. And yet in academic writing, you try to avoid that statement I. And in most cases, you use the passive voice. You say, for example, say, you quote someone else, something that's been said, not that you are saying, something is said. For example, it was, you say, it was found that maybe teenage pregnancy increased. So that's how you put in academic writing. But here you normally, in professional writing, normally start with the I in most cases. Then you also avoid those discipline jargons. For example, me, I'm a psychologist, and also is a pharmacist. So you bring your pharmacological terms in the professional writing. It might not match, but it will work very well if you are looking for marks from your lecturer or doctor. If you include those ones, they can impress your lecturer or doctor, but not your employer or a professional. Then you use first person point of view. So whatever you write should be in your perspective. Should be in your perspective. There's nothing that you are borrowing an idea from, but it's from you and direct communication from you. So having known that, we can move on quickly to emails. I don't know if Elasto, you have anything to add on to that.
Okay, maybe let me add something on that. Like on the parts of professional writing. For example, you are maybe sending a message asking for internship. We in most cases we usually don't know the people we are writing to. So the first thing for you to first ask yourself is to know, the first thing is, who are you? In most cases, if you want to summarize your message very well, is to know who are you, and then you have to know how did you learn from the correspondent, like the way you're writing the message to. If it's an email, if it's a resume, you have to know who is that person. Then also, what do you expect from them, and why should that correspondent pay attention to you? So in that case, it's where you need to know that you need to write in a way that that will satisfy the person to either pay attention to your message. Yeah, so that's where it comes to professionals need to know information quickly because they are always busy. So the main thing within that is if you know who you are, and then you also figure out who the correspondent is, and then you will be able to know how to write something quickly for your to easily capture their attention so that they can maybe respond to you like that.